You've probably heard me talking about this self-sufficient living skills bundle that's been going on. And I have been spending the last week flipping through so many of the incredible resources within this bundle. Now, I will say there's a lot. There's over 118 different ebooks and courses and lessons sharing incredible wisdom and knowledge with you so you can live off the land and you don't have to rely on this corrupt and broken system for everything for your family. Anyways, I wanted to share some of my favorite things. One, first off, is off-grid homeopathy. This course is loaded with so much incredible knowledge, talking about homeopathy for first aid, for colds and flu, how to make your own homeopathic remedies. Like, as an herbalist who loves to teach that stuff, that's pretty exciting to hear it in the homeopathy realm. There's also some incredible fermentation guides, so many other amazing herbal recipes and food recipes, and how to make your own sourdough bread, how to do your own organic gardening and canning of all of your foods. Really, there is so much. And yes, I know. I've talked about it a ton, but this entire bundle is only $50 right now until Sunday, March 24th. I'm sharing my herbal first aid skills, which is a course that's $47 on its own. I'm sharing recipes that I used when I got my products into REI for herbal first aid kits and so much more. You'll have to check it out. I'm serious. Like, you can absolutely change your life with this bundle. So there is a link in the show notes for you, and I hope you check it out. I hope you take advantage. Don't worry, you don't have to go through everything right away. You can access everything for up to a year. Once you're in the course or have the download, it's yours for life. It is a steal of a deal. Okay, self-sufficient living skills bundle in the links for you.
And I think that follow your dreams and listen to your intuition are probably the key statements in herbalism, because the more we do that, the more in tune we become with our true path and where we're supposed to be. So don't ever let anybody tell you can't do that, because, then you're denying yourself. You're denying your own path.
Welcome to the Herbalist's Path, where we're on a mission to inspire a movement where there's an herbalist in every home. Again, with your host, clinical herbalist, Melissa Mutterspaugh.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Herbalist Path, where we're on a mission to inspire a movement where there is an herbalist in every home again. And I'm really excited today, perhaps even giddy, for my new guest I'm going to have on, and her name is Amanda Furbee. She is the owner of the Herb Shop on Mississippi in Portland, Oregon. And the Herb Shop actually is the first herb shop, not hers, that I apprenticed at many years ago. So it's really exciting to sit and chat with Amanda and chat with somebody who knows what it's like to own an herbal apothecary. And she seems to be a lot like me, and she loves to get outside and play and have tons of fun while simultaneously connecting with really killer plants. So thanks so much for being on the show, Amanda. I'm excited to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. This is exciting.
Yeah. Let me know if I missed anything in that intro. Sometimes I ramble on intros.
Nope, it was perfect.
Sweet. Yeah. I love that you own the Herb Shop on Mississippi. I love that there is another one in that area. And I would love to know how that happened for you.
Yeah. So a little bit of a leap of faith. I was in North Carolina actually living when I had the epiphany that I needed to open an herb shop. And so long story short, I basically was, looking at different areas in the United States that catered to herbal medicine, because I knew absolutely nothing about it. I mean, I think I knew 3 plants. I mean, I knew that it was an important thing, and I knew that it was something that's culturally across the world has been here everywhere, and was our major, medicine for so many years. But I didn't know that it was something that you could have a career in, if that makes sense.
Totally.
So long story short, I found the herb shop online. The original owner opened it in 2005. And in 2010, I emailed her and said, hey, I think I want to open a wellness property of some sort. Can I come talk to you? So I flew out and interviewed at the shop and, told her my vision of what I felt like I wanted my future to look like. And long story short, she offered me a job. So I packed up my stuff in North Carolina and moved out here in August of 2010 and started at the herb shop 3 days later. So
that's awesome. Were you at the Hawthorne one then?
I was at the Hawthorne location in 2010, and, started simultaneously with doing our internship as well as being an employee, as well as taking my background from design, and the corporate world and basically going, oh my gosh, I see like so much awesomeness in this place and so much potential and growth. And I, like you, want everybody to know about herbal medicine and know that this is an option for your health. And so it was a major crash course. I felt like my brain was going to explode for about the first 6 months of being there because it was learning so much information. But at the same time, it was like this ancient knowledge that had been in me at some point, maybe in a past life or whatever it was, and just soaked back in, so it was like a big refresher crash course. That's the best way to put it.
That's awesome. Yeah, JJ is a really wonderful person. And if you were there in 2010, I wonder if we actually crossed paths around then.
I'm sure we did.
Caitlin was my mentor.
Oh yeah, Caitlin was my mentor.
She was so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
She's great. And I didn't realize she went back to Minnesota, I want to say, and then came back and now has an herb shop in the Bend area. Mm-hmm. What is the name of that shop? Do you know?
It just changed names, so I'm not sure what it's called now, but I'm sure it's amazing. So
I need to get her on the show just because I was out at Brightonbush last year, or the year before, obviously not last year, and ran into a few people working with her, and I had no clue. And like, we're hanging out, having fun, having all these conversations, and then like 2 days later, we all make the connection, and it was a really beautiful experience and exciting to hear for her and exciting for you. So, wow, that's so fascinating to decide I need to open an herb shop without like a real formal background, I guess you could say, in herbalism. That's exciting.
I mean, it literally hit me like a lightning bolt. And it was like, do not pass go, just go straight in this path. And my whole family thought I was crazy. They all are like, what are you doing? You're leaving your architecture degree to go to like work with plants? What? But, 11 years later, they finally understand and appreciate and totally honor the work that I do. And that's really amazing. So
that is great. What would you say is the most rewarding part about owning an herbal apothecary now that you've been?
Oh man, I mean, I think the thing that always comes back to me is just the amount that we're able to give back. There's so many people that come in, and it really truly feels like a sacred space as far as like the amount of information that is given to us from customers. And then, in return, being able to turn around and help the community in whatever way we possibly can, and, and give back. I mean, it's this beautiful cycle that I feel like most herb shops can relate to, and it is super important to be able to do that.
Absolutely. I had my apothecary open for a very short window of time. I learned a lot of lessons in business in that time. I do aspire to open it again, but even still, as it's closed and I still operate my product line out of this location, there's not a day that goes by that somebody isn't trying to come in and buy some herbs from us or what have you, or coming in and thanking me or writing me letters of like, oh my gosh, when you created X for me, it helped me so much. And that feeling is gold.
It is, people
It's
come to you at their wits' end, they're completely maxed out. They've gone through the system in a million ways and still have no answers. And I, from my perspective, almost always start talking about food and wellness and lifestyle, even before I even get into herbs. I'll never forget this one story. This guy came in and I mean, he was just stressed, like he hadn't slept in 3 or 4 weeks, and just you could just see it all over his face. There was nothing that was helping him. And the very next day, he ran into the herb shop. It was packed with people. And he was just so excited. And he was like, "Thank you so much. I slept last night." And you're like, "Wow, that's amazing. That's so awesome." Like you just like stop everything you're doing and are like, that's why we're here, that's why we're here. So
absolutely. I'm getting the chills as I hear you talk about that. And I've had a lot of people also in the sleep department that are like, holy moly. I think that sleep is one of those things that people come to herbalists for, might be one of the highest things. I'd love to hear, do you agree, or is it something else? Because
I mean, I think that it is in the top 5 of things for sure. Like, and it definitely ebbs and flows, but anything in the nervous system, whether it's stress and anxiety or sleep, all of those things are so big. And as you've seen, I'm sure in the last year, stress was high. And so everybody wanted stress stuff. Everybody wanted immune stuff. So those are definitely some big topics that we talk about often at the shop for sure, are stress and immune and adrenals and fatigue and all of that. So
big things. It's tough living in our society. That's what I chalk it up to. Like, I definitely have a T for sleep and for stress, and I'm like, could we just put this stress one in our water? That'd be great. Because we can all really use it. Yeah, totally. If you remember, and you don't mind, you don't have to, but do you remember what you gave that guy to help him sleep so well in one night's turnaround?
Yeah, it was valerian, actually. And again, as I'm sure like valerian is like one of those herbs that you always have to like let people know, like, hey, there's a 1% chance that this might make you hyper. So we had gone through that whole conversation. He's like, "I'll try whatever." And I was like, okay, so I like to start with just one herb whenever you're working with people. So that way they can really feel the effects of that one herb before really building a solid blend out. So
yeah, I think that one herb perspective is really, really important. And as I go about like teaching people about herbs, they immediately want to formulate. And I'm like, oh, you actually got to feel this herb and taste this herb and understand the way it works with your really unique body, because all the plants are different and are going to have a different action or reaction to each person and to each condition within that person. So it just really gets complex. And I think that as herbalism can be simple in some facets, the more you get into it, the more complex it is.
Absolutely. And, again, that kind of goes into teaching people to understand their own body. I like to start with food and, start with your food source and see, what is it that you eat that really messes with your system or gives you a headache or makes your ears itch or, makes you bloated, whatever it is. And herbs are exactly the same. In our internship program that we have now, we do a 30-minute meditation. And I tell every intern as they come in, really, I want you to sit with one plant. I want you to sit with this plant. I want you to maybe drink some tea of this plant or do a tincture or even a flower essence if we have it, or look at the aromatherapy aspects before you ever pick up your phone or laptop or even a book. I'm like, I want you to just sit down and I want you to feel that plant, and then you start understanding things like different properties, like, is it cooling or is it warming? Is it something that is going to give you a gelatinous feeling, or is it super drying? All of those constitutions and properties of plants is really how you start to understand a plant and if your body likes it or if it doesn't. So
Yeah, I think that is a really important process. And I remember doing that at the herb shop myself, and really learning a lot in that way of just taking that time. Um, Couple of things. One, can I backtrack on my at the herb shop and relate it to getting to know a plant and tell you a really funny story?
Yeah, of
So
course.
when I was there, Caitlin was my mentor. And I remember one day I'm in there, and every day I came in and got to do a meditation with the plant and whichever plant I chose. And there was one particular day where Caitlin was working away and she had started talking about skullcap. And she's like, oh, skullcap, I love it. It just goes straight to my head. And I was like, oh, straight to your head. Skullcap must make you really, really smart. And like fast forward a little later, and I'm going through clinical herb school and we're doing monographs on whatever plants we choose. And I decided I'm going to choose skullcap. That'll be great because then I'll be really smart for the rest of my herb school. and I grabbed my books and I grabbed my tincture and I have a tea and like I've got everything I can to really feel this plant. And I'm sitting in my backyard and I'm like starting to read about it, and I take a little tincture of this skullcap. It's a beautiful, warm, early summer day, and I take the tincture and I'm just like, oh, yeah, it's a nice day. It's so pretty out. I just don't feel much like writing, though.
Yeah.
I probably really need to take more of the skull cap so it goes to my brain more. So I do. And I'm just like, yeah, it's nice. And I'm like, okay, open a book and read about this plant. And I open a book and I'm like, oh, it goes straight to her brain and is sedating.
Yeah.
And Caitlin's a very energetic being. So that was one of my fun experiences of actually like sitting and being with the plant. And I think it goes to show like today on the internet, there's so much information out there and not all of it is great information. As a matter of fact, a large portion of it is not. Yeah. And you can go online and read like, oh, so-and-so said that skullcap goes straight to your brain. It makes you really smart. But if you don't take the time to actually interact with that plant, you're never really going to know what it does. Hey, I wanted to take a quick pause to show some love and gratitude to our sponsors of the Herbalist Path podcast, who make this show possible for me and possible for you too. So here it goes. Medicinal mushrooms are all the rage these days, if you didn't know already. And with great reason, because they are powerful medicine that can improve your health and your life in so many different ways when they're well made. Yeah, it's true. There's a lot of stuff on the market that isn't going to be so effective. And that's why you need to find a brand that you can actually trust. For me, that brand is Whole Sun Wellness, and this is the creation of a brilliant woman and fellow mama, Jamie Bonfiglio. She's an international mushroom educator that has been working in the medicinal mushroom industry for years. And this is when she saw firsthand how many other companies take shortcuts when it comes to their products. And Jamie wasn't having it. She set out to build her company the right way. Whole Sun Wellness is here to raise the industry standards so those crap mushrooms on the market aren't getting into your body or your family's body. Whole Sun Wellness is the first company to test and report nutritional facts for all of their extracts. They go beyond industry standards every step of the way, from sourcing to extraction and final testing. And as the owners of the largest medicinal mushroom farm in the United States, Whole Sun Wellness is taking control of their supply chain for the highest quality and absolute full transparency. They're even the first company to include pure mycelium extract in every single product. So when you're thinking of getting medicinal mushrooms for you and your family, Whole Sun Wellness is exactly the ones you want. Also, be sure to check out their new Mycolites. These are the world's first dissolvable electrolyte tablets. They're featuring functional mushroom extracts that'll give you more energy, more stamina, and recovery as well. And who couldn't use all of that? The other thing is, they are these adorable little mushroom-shaped tablets, and they come in like a little Altoids box, but way cooler than Altoids because they're Mycolites. Anyways, head to wholesunwellness.com to grab yourself some mycolites and all of the other functional medicinal mushrooms that you and your family need. And of course, you can grab that link right here in the show notes now.
Oh, absolutely. And that also like kind of leads me to taking too much of a plant. I'm like the queen of like accidentally taking too much of something. And I've learned a lot of really valuable lessons with
I am
taking
guilty of that.
too much. Yes. Well, and I think that is our society and our culture that we think that we need more of things. And instead of just starting with the basics, you think, oh, 1 tablespoon of mugwort, like that's not that much. And the next thing you know, you're up all night having lucid dreams like crazy and can't get out of it. And you're like, maybe I should have only had 1 tablespoon of mugwort instead of 2. So.
Yeah, that's great. Can you tell me another story about a particular plant where you were like, holy crap, I took too much of that?
Yeah. And this wasn't even an internal taking of a plant. So like, I love to tell this story. But we were at the shop and we were grinding poke root, which as you know, is a low dose herb. But our Vitamix at the time was off-gassing some of the powder into the air. And I had 2 interns that day, and they both, within like 10 minutes of grinding this herb, they both were like, I feel really bad. I think I need to go home. Like, I feel like I have a head cold. And it just came on so fast. And we were pretty close to closing. So I was like, yeah, just go ahead and get out of here. I don't want you to feel bad. Sent both of them home, finished up the day. And then about 30 minutes after I left there, I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like I have a head cold. What is going on? And at the time, Dr. Curtis was working for the shop. And so I was like, Dr. Curtis, I have to tell you what happened. She's like, oh yeah, that's poke root. It was moving. It's a lymphatic mover. So it was moving everything out of your body. And the next day I was totally fine. And so were the interns, but it was just like, wow.
Plants are powerful.
Wow. Yeah. Like that was just like little particles in the air that were coming in. And, from that day, it inspired me to eventually teach a class on poisonous plants, understanding the difference between like low dose and poisonous plants and how you can still work with many of them, even though they're, in a low dose form or in a homeopathic form. But, understanding that just because they're poisonous doesn't necessarily mean, it's not powerful as medicine.
Right. Yeah, totally. Do you teach that? Is that poisonous plants class available to people?
Not yet. It's something that's going to be coming probably in this next year though, because I just recently last year had my first encounter with poisonous oak. See, this is the problem, right? The plants listen all the time. Like, I think I need more knowledge on poisonous plants. How do I get more knowledge? And sure enough, I somehow managed to get into some poison oak last year. And then almost to the day this year from last year, got it again.
Oh, no.
And it was like, okay, all right, I hear you. I'm going to teach this class. It's going to happen. So in the very near future.
Yeah, I was just on a hike last weekend out in the gorge and like just poison oak everywhere.
Yep.
And I was really attentive to be like, hello, my 7-year-old child. See this plant? Don't touch it. So what'd you do? What'd you do when you got poison oak? Because this is a question I get all the time.
Yeah, totally. So we have a blend actually that's called Itchway that we created for poison oak. And I took that and what I had at home was vinegar and I had our cacao face mask. And so, which is, chocolate and clay basically. So I took all of those together and made a blend and just lathered it on me. It took a couple of weeks for it to really go away. But that, and then the class's herbal liniment seemed to really help with like the cooling and all of that combined is what really got rid of that. But it was a very eye-opening experience. And I mean, I have a scar on my arm actually, because it was so bad on the top of my
No.
arm. So it's a reminder, probably will be a tattoo someday. I don't know, but
Right?
yeah, it's the beginning of art.
Yeah, I love that story. That's really, really funny and painful all in one.
Right.
Like, not to
Well,
laugh
and
at your
I,
pain, but at least it's a great learning lesson, right?
it is, and Rosemary Gladstars talked about how I think it was poison ivy or poison oak. I can't remember which one now, but talking about doing like small doses with that and how, your body becomes like it builds up a tolerance with that. And I wouldn't necessarily recommend that to anybody firsthand, but Rosemary has like so much experience in that and always a good source of information and knowledge.
She's wonderful. I
Mhm.
love meeting her. She's just got this beautiful fairy floating way about her,
Totally does.
and
That's
she's
how I
so
always feel like
integral.
that.
Where were we though?
I guess we were talking about Rosemary. Oh yeah, we were talking about Rosemary and how amazing she is and how she is just this little wonderful, goddess fairy woman that just floats. She just floats.
She's really wonderful. And she tasted my tea at one of the last Brighton Bush things she was at, and she loved it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not a fangirl type of girl.
Yeah.
But at
But
that moment,
Rosemary,
I was
yeah.
like, she likes my tea.
Yes. And I feel like Rosemary is the only person maybe on the planet that I feel like starstruck with every
Yeah.
time I see her. And just amazed that she remembers me every single time. Like, how do
Yeah.
you remember all these people?
Lots of really great herbs that improve memory
Right?
and health.
So true. So true.
I want to touch back about the internships at your shop and find out how anybody could get the opportunity to do an internship with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we bring new interns in every month, and it is a 12-week internship. We've changed the hours slightly because of COVID and everything. So instead of being a 4-hour shift, it's a 3-hour shift. And that way we can maintain our max capacity with employees and customers and things like that coming in. But you can always call the shop or you can email us at the main email, which is info@theherbshop.pharmacy.com. Or if you want a more direct email, we also have internship.ths@gmail.com. And so those are the best ways, or pretty much if you talk to anybody, they'll link you up with getting basically you connected with me. And then we do a once a month orientation, which is currently via Zoom, and go over kind of the basic foundations. We ask for a letter of interest so that way we can kind of get an idea of, what your skills are, what you want to learn from us, see if it's a good fit for us. But we love having interns. I mean, it's such a blessing to have, this fresh energy that comes into the shop all the time, and everybody's knowledge is great. It's even if you have no knowledge like I did when I came into the shop, there's so many other foundational things within herbalism that are not just necessarily medicine making, like it goes into astrology, it goes into farming, it goes into food and nutrition. And so there's so many avenues of knowledge that comes in that becomes really awesome paired up with herbalism.
Totally. I think that's one of the things I love about herbalism is how you never quit learning, and there's always so many different directions in which you go. And it just sounds like such an excellent opportunity to do an internship at the herb shop. Tell us the address of the herb shop.
Sure. It's at 3912 North Mississippi Avenue in Portland. So up in North Portland.
It's such a fun little area. I can't believe how much that area has grown. And
it has. I mean, I've had this location going on 7 years now. And I mean, I watched them take down the old furniture store that is where my shop is now and completely build everything out. And when we first opened, it was mainly just like restaurants and bars on Mississippi. And it has really evolved to this cool, eclectic, super fun bar, restaurant, and like retail location.
Yeah.
Which is really awesome.
Yeah, totally. That's great. That's so exciting. I wonder, being an herb shop owner, you've got this endless amount of herbs available to you. If you could recommend one herb to people.
Well, that's always such a hard question.
It's so hard.
And I've been thinking about this. And I think the one plant that at this moment keeps coming up for me is dandelion, because dandelion is everywhere. And dandelion is not only nutritive, but so great with, the leaves and the roots and making wishes, like there's so many things that dandelion offers, and it's so often overlooked as a weed that we should just pull out of our yard and get rid of. But yet, it's food, it's medicine, it's magic, it's all the things. And I just want to bring awareness that people take note of their dandelions in their life. And understanding like how beneficial it can be, for them. I often think that when things are growing in abundance, like our society needs them the most, and there is abundance of them. So, being able to take a few dandelions here and there is not going to hurt the population of dandelions most of the time. And so that is, obviously something that we all need to be aware of when it comes to harvesting plants and, taking food as medicine. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So you talk about dandelion being great food and great medicine. What are some ways that somebody completely new to herbalism could use dandelion right now? Like, what could they do?
Yeah. For starters, I would start with eating the greens and eating the flowers. And then, if you're wanting to dive into it further, the leaves are also so great for the kidneys and for, water retention and things of that nature. And then, of course, there's the roots that go into like a blood purifier with your liver, so if you're running hot, it's a great cooling herb that can help out with basically helping to cool down the body if you have inflammation or, whatever it might be. I don't want to get in, like throw too many like ideas.
Right. I was like, we're sticking with beginners.
Yeah, totally. I'm like, I don't want to dive too deep, but just an awesome plant, and just starting by eating it is so important with the bitter properties that are in there.
How would they eat it?
In their salad, or they could saute it, or they could even make some pesto with it, which is one of my favorite things to do with dandelions and nettles, of course. So I think that is, some really simple methods. I also really love to do a vinegar infusion with dandelions. I really have gotten very much into vinegar or oxymals infusions. Oftentimes I'll take all your basic spices, like oregano and thyme and dandelions, and make a beautiful blend. And then you can make it into a salad dressing or use it as a soup topper or whatever it might be. And I think that's been one of my most valuable and beautiful lessons getting into herbalism, is really like, how do we incorporate food into our herbs and into our regular food? So it's not necessarily like, I need to take my medicine. It's like, oh, it's part of my ritual, part of my diet and who I am.
Hey, I wanted to take a quick pause to show some love and gratitude to our sponsors of the Herbalist Path podcast, who make this show possible for me and possible for you too. So here it goes. I love this time of year. It's spring, the sun is shining, and all of our beautiful plant friends are popping up. It's amazing. Unless, of course, you're one of the millions of people who suffer from seasonal allergies. The itchy, watery eyes, the sneezing and wheezing that's straight miserable. Thankfully, there are some amazing herbs that can help you with all of that. Just like the herbs inside of Kick-Ass Allergy from Wish Garden Herbs, one of my absolute favorite herbal companies out there. Kick-Ass Allergy, yes, I said ask without the K at the end. Anyways, this formula has yerba santa, nettles, echinacea for that immune support, and orange peels, all which come together to help dry up those excessive mucosal secretions. Yep, I'm talking about the sniffles and the stuffy nose, the watery eyes, and all that jazz. This blend also acts as a great expectorant and can help ease the swelling and inflammation in those mucosal tissues. It is a top go-to for seasonal allergies. And get this, they combine all those beautiful herbs with glycerin, so it actually tastes pretty darn good. Or should I say, it tastes kick-ass, without the K at the end. Anyways, if allergy season is miserable for you and you want a natural remedy that actually works for those itchy eyes and being all sneezy and wheezy, you have got to check out Wish Garden Herbs Kick-Ass Allergy. And for those of you with the little kiddos, no sweat, they've got a kick it allergy too. And you pregnant mamas? You don't have to suffer either. They've got a kick-ass allergy formula just for you. So head over to wishgardenherbs.com or check out the link in the show notes and go grab yourself some kick-ass allergy so you can enjoy spring again. Yeah, it's really so true. And there's like our common culinary herbs, there's so much medicine in all of those. And I think it's forgotten about in our society. And that's really a shame because there's some of it's really funny as you like look into the history of it and cooking and what herbs were used as preservatives and how that all melds together to be some really powerful and delicious medicine.
Yes, that is to this day one of my biggest dilemmas whenever I divide up the store as far as what our bulk herbs are versus our culinary herbs. Oh my gosh, it drives me crazy because I'm like, but it's medicinal too. I don't know. It just becomes this mind boggle in my head as to how I should organize things.
Maybe go culinary herbs, but they're medicinal too.
Yes, exactly.
And then just put what people typically buy in the grocery store as spices.
Yep. And that's kind of what we do, but it's just so funny to like, in my brain, it kept me up at night, like literally going, but it's still medicinal. Is it really culinary? Like just the simple things.
It can so much be the simple things. I love that. I love that about it. You talked a moment about bitters in dandelion. Do you want to tell people what the heck bitters do? Because nobody wants anything bitter in their mouth these days, right?
Yeah, I mean, bitters are amazing. It's basically going to help with stimulating our digestive tract that keeps everything moving along and keeps, our whole body really regulated. Luckily, there are so many bitters out there. You can obviously do dandelion. There are varying levels of bitterness with plants, and depending on what you actually need, I feel like bitters, they hit your palate of your tongue and then they kind of go through your body and get you ready for digestion, which is where so much of our society it gets stuck because we're constantly just like eating,
literally stuck.
Like everything's stuck, right? That's why we have so many problems and not only in our digestion, but it obviously escalates into so many other health issues across our society with how we eat and what we eat and all that kind of stuff, that just taking a few bitters before you're going to eat that pizza or whatever it is, then that can really help to like move that process along and regulate things and keep things moving. So
yeah. Awesome. Thank you for that explanation. Just in case anybody was wondering, like, wait a second, I don't want anything better, but no, you really do.
Yeah. And I also get really, I love the history behind like sugar and bitters in our society and going like way back to the Industrial Revolution when we had all these sugars that came into all the processed food and all that kind of stuff, and how bitters got removed from our food palette, right? And so now there is this awakening to remove that, and the more bitters you have, the less you crave sugars and the less you want those sugars in your life or need those sugars in your life. And that is awesome.
Yeah, because sugar is the devil.
It so is. I mean, talk about terrible. Serious brain fog and like, it just
it's so addictive.
It is. I mean, it's worse than heroin, that's for sure. So
And those darn food manufacturers knew it. And
And I mean, it's crazy to watch them cater it to children in every capacity. And, it's really hard to keep sugar away from children in this day and age without being a bad person, and it's like, really learning to introduce other types of healthier sugars, like from fruit or from honey or maple syrup or whatever, versus like, here's a processed sugar. So.
My child did not have any refined sugars until she went to preschool.
Yeah.
And then it was like Halloween and my daughter comes home with Kit Kats and I'm like, what? And then Nana was like, oh, floodgates are open. Here you go. And I'm like, wait, you guys.
Yeah, I know.
This is a real thing. I know you may have put tons of sugar in your body and you're still alive, but that doesn't mean you're healthy and alive.
Okay. Yeah. Well, and I think for those beginning years of life, like it's so important because of the brain fog you get from sugar, like they're in that fundamental development stage where they're learning so much, and having clarity is really important. I mean, all through life it's important, but like, especially through those developmental.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. You have an herb shop. I bet you also have books in your herb shop.
We do.
And I love herb books. If you could tell, my background's like a quarter of my herb book collection. If that. If you were to be able to recommend one herb book, another really challenging question, what would you recommend to people?
I think it's always great, and myself included, to start with Rosemary's books. Her books are so simple to understand, and it really gets the wheels turning in your head as to what you can do and how you can do it. And I mean, again, I always feel like it's my cute little grandmother that's reading to me and, telling me and explaining these. So I think that any of her books are such great, like fundamental, foundational books to get started with when it comes to starting in herbalism.
Yeah, she's really great. There's some of my first books for sure. So perfect. Kind of an easy answer on that one. A little bit easier than the one plant thing.
Yeah, totally. Well, I mean, and mine are very well loved. Like you go through the pages and there's stuff spilled everywhere, or whatever. So they've been well used and well loved.
Awesome. I love that. Her books are fantastic. They're a really, really, really great starting point. And even today, after however many years I've been immersed in the herbal world, I still love her books. So timeless for sure. I want to go back to talking about your shop, and I heard a little word that you are having some new products come available at the herb shop in Portland, and they are likely to be significantly better formulations than what you see in all the hype world of this particular plant you're going to use.
Well, I think
wondering if you can tell me a little of that.
Yeah, I mean, so we've spent the last 4.5 years completely redoing our product line, which has been really awesome and wonderful to get in there and do all those things. And it's not just me that does it. I want that to be well known that it is a collective. I operate my shop, as if it is a collective unit, and everybody that wants to be involved with things like formulation is. So that's been really beautiful and special to see and to incorporate and all those things.
Formulating is one of my favorite things to do.
Oh, me too.
It's so much fun.
Yes, it is. You feel like the mad scientist there with everything. But with that being said, we have started the journey of introducing CBD into some of our beloved products at the shop. And so we will spend this whole year launching a new line of CBD products that will be beautifully formulated with, the herbs that are good to relate to CBD, that are good for being in corporation with CBD and making that formula really valuable.
Yeah, that's awesome. Because that's really exciting, just because there's so many crap CBD companies out there. And I think, CBD, that plant, the whole cannabis plant, is amazing and chock full of all kinds of medicine that really dances well with so many other herbs. So it's a fun little area. I'm glad to hear another herbalist doing great work in that
It
department.
is, and it's really special to get to work with this plant that's had like all this hype, but bring awareness to the world that there's so many other plants too that work really beautifully with CBD as well as on their own.
Yeah.
And I think that within most of the CBD companies that are out there, there's not really an herbalist perspective to those products. And so to be able to take that, to formulate that,
Mhm.
to use the full plant, like that's how we are trying, that's what we're doing with our products, is
Yeah.
actually using the plant versus taking an isolate powder or taking a distillate, like
Yeah.
because there's so many properties, like you say, that come from that plant. It's not just this one thing that's been
Yeah.
extracted. And to me, like that's a different thing than what we do in herbalism. Like we want to work with the plants.
Yeah, it's a beautiful process. So that's exciting that that's going to be available. Um, and it'll be available in your storefront. Maybe later down the road, it'll be available online.
Correct. Yes. As of right now, we have just a simple oil base, and we also have an alcohol extraction. And then in the next week or so, we will have 4 new oil blends that you can use
Yay.
topically. And then we'll have lots of other stuff that's coming. So
Exciting, super, super fun. And you have other really exciting things for people that maybe want to start learning how to make their own medicine. Word on the street.
yes,
Tell me more
absolutely.
about that.
So when I got into herbalism, I just fell in love with making products. Like for me, again, not really having much of a medical background or understanding of the body and the systems, I really fell in love with skincare products. I was like, I want to know how to make everything. I want to know how to do anything that goes on my body, which then obviously escalated into anything that goes in my body.
Right.
And from that kind of birthed this idea of Make Your Own series. And so the Make Your Own product series is 10 classes that are extended over a 3 or 4 month period, depending on when they're being taught. And it teaches you everything. It teaches you all the basics from tincture making to skincare to food as medicine, and everything that you can imagine in between that, we go over and touch on. And so we will be doing that starting in September of this year. We took a little break with COVID, but now we're getting
Right.
back to it. And so it will be an online platform. And you also have the option of us shipping those products that we make in class to you, which will be really exciting and fun for you to have that hands on.
Super fun. That sounds really awesome. As a product maker, you can imagine I also love making products. So that sounds really, really great. How can people find out more about those classes and get all signed up? Because this is going to be available to all of our listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can go to the website and you can just type in the Make Your Own product series, or just make your own, and it'll pull it up. And so you can get registered there.
The
Or
website. Tell me about that.
yeah. Yeah, so the website is the Herb Shop, and that's SHOPPEPDX.com. And so you can go on there soon. It'll also be linked onto our event page, but you can go to the search bar under our shop page and also find it there. Or you can call the shop and we can get you signed up that way, or email. Again, kind of whatever method works best for you, we can definitely accommodate. And until the end of July, it's $100 off. So
Ooh,
if you're going
nice.
to get signed up and save some money, that would be the ideal time to do that, is to get signed up before July.
And
Or
who
before the
doesn't
end of
love saving money?
yeah,
Right?
everybody.
Right, right. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing
Yeah,
that. I hope some people dig in on that, because I know that's going to be a really, really fun series.
it is, and we'll send the information in advance too. So if people want to buy it and make it with us, then that is also a really fun way to do
Nice.
that. So
Yeah.
mhm.
Awesome. Sounds really great.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to start wrapping it up, but I want to know, is there any like really great words of wisdom you would care to share or think is important? You don't have to say yes, that you would want to share with somebody who's just beginning their journey down the herbalist path.
Yeah, I mean, I think that follow your dreams and listen to your intuition are probably the key statements in herbalism, because the more we do that, the more in tune we become with our true path and where we're supposed to be. So don't ever let anybody tell you you can't do that, because, then you're denying yourself, you're denying your own path. And like many of us, we've all denied our own path for years until we land on that path. And then all of a sudden we're like, oh, why are all the doors opening up? And like, why does this feel
makes
right?
so much sense.
Yeah, exactly. So no matter how much knowledge you have or don't have with what your guides and your intuition are telling you, follow it and don't let anybody stop you.
Yeah. Boom. Love that. Love that. That's great. Cool. Thank you for joining me for this. One more time, I want you to let everybody know how they can find you, whether it's your website, your social media, or what have you.
Absolutely. So you can definitely visit us in person at 3912 North Mississippi Avenue here in Portland. Or you can go to our website, which is the herbshoppdx.com, and shop is SHOPPE. And you can see the majority of what we have. We don't have CBD on there yet, but you can definitely see the majority of our products and events and practitioners and things like that online. Or you can follow us on Facebook or Instagram, and see all the greatness that's coming out. So
heck yeah. And then Facebook, Instagram is at the Herb Shop.
It's the Herb Shop PDX, I believe. We just kind of changed that. So yeah.
Cool. We'll link to it in the show notes no matter what. But some people don't want to look at our show notes and just hear it, and they're smart enough to remember it.
I'm pretty sure they're both the Herb Shop PDX at this point. So
awesome. Yeah, I've had to go through numerous changes in that department. Like, oh wait, that one's not so easy.
Yeah.
The lessons we learn as business owners and herbalists and humans.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amanda, for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
And I hope you have a brilliant day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
This has been the Herbalist's Path, where we're on a mission to inspire an herbalist in every home, again. Thanks so much for joining us. If you'd like to support our mission, please subscribe, rate, and review to help others find us. Together, we can make herbalism #spread like wildflowers. Wishing you all a lovely day. Bye for now.
It has been so much fun and so, I don't know, joyous watching all of my medicinal plant friends popping up in my garden, from the elecampane to the comfrey and the arnica. I love seeing these friends pop up. And if you are still trying to decide what to grow in your medicinal herb garden, you've got to grab my guide. It's all about the most essential herbs that every mom should know and should grow. So I teach you how to grow them and the many different ways that you can use them. If you want to grab the guide, go ahead. It's free, and I'm pretty sure you're going to get a lot of delight and use out of it. And there's a link to it in the show notes. I'm wishing you tons of happy medicine planting.